there, it's Liv from Life Yoga. Do you ever wonder how you get from point A to point B? Not just how you get in your car and you go to the grocery store and back, but how you really, in your physical body and life, get from point A to point B. Well, it's a pretty simple explanation. We like to make it complicated and think that there's all this crazy stuff in the world that has to happen for us to actually to achieve our goals and the transformations we want. But it's really pretty easy. This is the deal. Energy causes movement, causes positioning, causes posture. Causes energy, causes movement, causes positioning, causes posture. So let me explain this here through a car. So here we are in a car. All right, this car is not going to go anywhere unless it has fuel. So whatever it is, gas, diesel, unleaded, canola oil, whatever the form of fuel is, the quantity and the quality of fuel that we have for this car is going to determine how it runs and how far it goes. So say we have fuel. We put the fuel in. In order for the car to move, its internal mechanisms have to move, so the engine needs to start. So we have the fuel, we start the engine starts going. However, that engine moves energy through the internal mechanisms of the car, the wheels, the lights, whatever we need to do to move down the street. However that process is happening and however those internal mechanisms are set up are going to determine whether the car actually drives. So the internal movement determines how the car drives, right? So we have internal movement, the car is now driving. As the car drives down the street, it is constantly, every less than a second, repositioning itself in space and time. It's positioning, 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 positioning. So movement causes positioning, causes the actual repositioning in time and space in the real world. Now, wherever the car ends up is a result of how it is repositioning itself in time and space. So the car eventually will end up at its destination, wherever that is, either because it runs out of fuel or because the driver decides to stop it. Either way, wherever that perceived place is, the grocery store, maybe in this case it's down the street, where the car ends up, that is actually the posture. It's the perception of where the movement and the driving stops, and we have arrived at our destination. Now, wherever we arrive, right, in that posture or destination, dictates where we move from next, right? Because we're no longer at the driveway in the house, we're at the grocery store. It also determines our access to future fuel, how we're being right there, wherever that ends up, access to future fuel, and also the pathways that we take to go to our next destination. So that's how it works in a car. In a human, super cool, same thing, energy. So what is energy in a human? A lot of the time we think it's food, we think it's maybe our attitude or how everything's moving through our body, but the raw energy of a human is the breath. We're alive because we breathe. Our breath controls our nervous system, which controls everything we think, do, or say. Controls every experience we have. So however the fuel of our breath is, quantity and quality of it determines what happens in our human being every less than a second, every breath. So, say we have some breath. We breathe in. The breath goes to the engine of the human body, which is actually the subconscious nervous system. First thing the breath does is trigger the subconscious nervous system. This engine of the subconscious nervous system, however that's working, and however that engine decides to move fuel through the internal mechanics, subconscious mechanics of the body, determines whether or not this car is going to move. So however that movement, that internal movement is happening, stimulates and controls the actual movement of our human being through time and space. So the subconscious nervous system controls our conscious thoughts. It controls our skeletal muscular system, our sensory nervous system, our motor nervous system, all the things that are conscious that we decide where we're going to drive and how we're going to drive and what route we're possibly going to take. That is all dictated by our subconscious nervous system and how that internal movement is happening. So our internal movement happens. That allows us to drive our human being through time and space. So, however that's happening determines how we drive. We're driving along, moving, and then all of a sudden, we decide in our mind, how and when we are going to stop that movement for a second and have that less than a second perception of where we are in time and space. So, however we move, just as those cars are moving down the street, however we move, and then when we decide to stop and decide this is where we end up, that's our perception, and that's actually where the posture is. We create posture all the time. But that posture of where we end up in our lives, in our body, in our flexibility, it doesn't really matter how you look at it, wherever we perceptibly end up in time and space is a result of our breath, our subconscious nervous system, how that drives us to our destination. Wherever we end up in posture, in this breath, in this moment, that determines what our next breath is going to be and how we're going to take it. And that breath in turn determines how our subconscious nervous system is going to fire our conscious being to move us through space and time and allow us to arrive at the appointed destination. So what's the lesson in this? Really, do you just go and drive your car without gas? Do you worry about whether you have gas or not? Do you even go there? Do you go to the place where you wonder how, are my brakes working? Are my wheels working? Do I have a flat tire? We check our cars and we go back there to make sure that the car is running, just as we should be aware of our breath and our subconscious nervous system and how that's driving us. This is Live from Life Yoga. Hope this was valuable to you. Remember, energy causes movement, causes positioning, causes posturing, causes energy, causes movement, causes positioning, causes posturing. It really is that simple. Every breath, every less than a second. This is Live from Life Yoga. I hope you enjoyed this. Have a great time driving, and I will see you at the next destination.